Hi guys, Miss Allen is here. Today I'm going to do a quick lesson about our new writing unit. We just finished up research writing and you guys did such an amazing job on researching tigers and elephants. I saw how many of you submitted your work and you did such a great job getting you information and facts and writing them all down. And today for Writer's Workshop, we are going to move on to something we've already talked about, which is personal narratives. Now, if you remember, a personal narrative is a story about you. So it has to be a story that actually happened, that you actually did. And we talked about that at the beginning of the year. So today we're going to just grow on that, and we are going to talk about how to write a true story. So one of the things that super writers do before they get started is that they need to think. So you need to think about something that already happened or something that you did. So like this friend right here is thinking about when they went to the park. So I am going to think, I'm going to think of a story. And earlier this past year in November, I went to Mexico and I got to go see the monarch butterflies. So I'm going to write about that. It's a story about me and Ezekiel and Jacob and the things that we did. So now that I've thought about what I want to write about, the next thing good writers do is that they need to practice telling their story with the storyteller's voice. So I'm going to tell you my story and then I'm going to start writing it down. So one of the things that we did was we went to Mexico and we went to a sanctuary for butterflies. When we went to the sanctuary, we had to travel up these really steep hills all the way to the top of the hills until we got to a sanctuary. Once we got to the sanctuary's parking lot, we had to hike up these really steep streets until we got to the sanctuary. At the sanctuary, when we got in, we got on horses. And these guides took us on horses up even higher mountains and hills. And then once we got to the top of the hill, we got off the horses and then we still needed to hike some more. So when we hiked up some more, we got to this really quiet area because butterflies don't like a lot of noise. This is why they go all the way up to the mountains, why you have to hike really far to get to them. So there was a guide and he took us the rest of the way. So we hiked the rest of the way super quiet. And when we got there, we saw all of these trees full of wonderful butterflies. And we got to stand there quietly and see all these butterflies gather together. When we were done, we took some pictures and then we had to climb all the way back down the hill. When we saw the guides with the horses, we got back on the horses and we got to come back down the mountains with horses on horseback. And once we got to the entrance of the sanctuary, we went and we had lunch and we got to talk about all the beautiful butterflies that we got to see gathered all together. So that's my story in my storyteller's voice. So after you're done telling somebody your story, you need to start writing it down. So I need to think about what was the first thing I did in my story? What's the first thing I told? The first thing I told you about was that when I went to Mexico and we had to start at the parking lot and climb these really steep streets to get up to the horses to go see the butterflies. So that's what I'm going to start writing about in my story. So I am going to write a little bit about that. I'm going to start with my picture first so I don't forget, and then I will write a little bit and write some sentences. So I want you to start thinking about what you're going to write about and what your story is going to be about, and I will show you what mine is in a minute. All right, guys, so here's my paper. I'm going to write the first part of my story. And the first part of my story is when we got to the mountains and we had to climb up these really steep streets. And I am going to go ahead and remember, always use a pencil in case you make a mistake. You can always go back and fix it. But you can use any paper, but we always start with our picture. So I am going to go ahead and draw like the parking lot. And then I'm going to draw these really steep streets. And they kind of went like a zigzag a bit. Kind of like like a Z. So I'm going to go ahead and do it like that. And like that. Almost looks like a map, right? And then there was like a little creek that we had to kind of walk over. And then over here was the butterfly sanctuary. So I'm going to draw a butterfly as best I can. And I can always come back and fix it. Right now I'm trying to get all of my thoughts down on the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and write this down, do it really quickly. And there's my butterfly, to kind of like a map to symbolize that that was the sanctuary. And in my story is me. So I'm going to draw myself right at the bottom. And Ezekiel and Jacob were with me. So they're a lot faster than I am. So I'm going to draw them in front. So there's Jacob. And there's Ezekiel. And then I'm going to draw my car over here. My parked car. Right over there. So there's the first part of my story, and this is a creek. So I'm just going to do a little waterway here. So here is the first part of my story. And the first part of my story is that we had to go to Mexico. We parked the car. We had to walk all those really steep streets all the way till we got to the sanctuary so we could go see the butterflies. So now that I've drawn my part of the picture, we need to write a sentence. So remember, you need to use your sight words. So I'm going to write here, I. And then remember to put a finger space and to write on the other side of your finger, went to. All of these are sight words. I went to, and then here's the word see. I went to see the, it's another sight word, friends. I went to see the, and I'm going to write monarch butterflies. So monarch is a type of butterfly, so I'm going to capitalize it. Monarch butterflies. And you can sound these out as best you can. So I went to see the monarch butterflies. I'm going to put a period at the end of my sentence. So there's my sentence. There's the first part of my story. I'm going to go back and I can always add more details. I can add more words. I can color it in. So this is the first part of my true story. So I want to see you guys doing a lot of writing and using those sight words. All right, guys. See you in the next lesson.